In one of the most famous parables of the New Testament, Jesus starts a story by saying a certain man had two sons. It's such a simple way to begin a story, and yet it automatically sets up this difference between two people that's coming. We just don't know what that difference is yet. And it's easy for us to get lost in that story because we've come to know it as the parable of the prodigal son. But that's not how parables work. And I often come here to the Bluffview Art District to take a look at this sculpture behind me of the prodigal and the return of the prodigal, and it reminds me of the story that I love so much. But parables don't work on the element of the story. Parables work on the element of where the story ends. And while the story is almost all about the prodigal son who wishes his father were dead so that he could get his inheritance now and moves off to a far country where he squanders it, the end of the story is about the older brother. I guess this is a shameless plug because I will be writing at my blog over at timchilders.com about this parable over the next, at least the next month, maybe the next 2 months, as I revisit it with Henri Nouwen in his book, The Return of the Prodigal Son. One of the things that has become ingrained with us is that when we hear this story delivered from the pulpit, it is always about the son who squandered everything and went away and came back, and the father was out on the front porch watching and waiting and sees him from a far distance. And that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that there was a son who stayed home. There was a son who did everything that he was supposed to do. There was a son who continued to work for his father and continued to do everything that was expected of him, and he was a little jealous. Well, this is not a conversation about spiritual things. This is a conversation about education in the classroom, and the fact that a lot of times we concentrate as teachers on the kids who are struggling the most. We concentrate on the kids who have the most dire circumstances and still show up for school. We concentrate on those kids who are in deep, deep trouble and who have overcome great odds. And sometimes in the midst of that, we forget to encourage those who have been doing the work all along. We forget to encourage those who have been turning in their assignments on time every time. They may not be straight A students, but they are doing the work. They're doing exactly what you've asked them to do, and sometimes we overlook them. So the next time you're in your classroom, look around. Look at the kids that you're helping. Look at the kids who are constantly needy, constantly asking you to come by and talk to them. And we do that willingly. But take a look around at the kids who maybe you haven't actually gone to help in several days or even a few weeks. That's the older brother. That's the kid who didn't leave home. That's the kid who's always been there doing what they're supposed to do. And if we're not careful, we'll spend all of our time looking for the other ones. Again, join me over at timchilders.com. We'll take a look at some thoughts about the prodigal son parable over the course of the next month or two. Maybe it'll be interesting, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll catch you all next week.